right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast, and this is episode 300. We've done it. It feels good. And this is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. Before we get on the show, I want to invite you all. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PlayStation Network, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at JakeSaw01. As always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends and be sure you leave comments and rate the podcast as you see fit. As a reminder, we are a video podcast as well, so you can watch the show if you prefer over at our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to that. For new and or long-time listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support our show at a $1 level. The Patreon tier is called the one and only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PS This Is Awesome to become a $1 patron, get a free die-cut vinyl sticker in the mail, and a shout-out on our show. Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bit sore. I don't know. I played hockey over the weekend, or last night, which is fine. But my workout schedule has aligned itself so that no matter what day I play hockey, I either end up working out the same day that I play hockey or the next morning. And so sometimes it takes a little bit more of a toll on me than others. Sorry, I'm like tearing apart a fucking, those like, I don't know if you can see in the video. It's like a fucking like rings from like a 6-pack.
Yeah, the plastic rings a fish get caught in.
Do you tear them apart? Because like,
I don't ever buy anything that has them.
I honestly don't believe that ever happens. I think it's like fucking folklore.
No, it definitely fucking happens.
But like something inside of me is like, but maybe like, I don't want like a baby fucking seal or something or
even a fish, dude. Or like, what if like
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about fish. Fuck fish.
What if your favorite animal, like, the deer, starts running through some sort of ocean and it gets its hoof caught in one of those and falls,
dude?
And a shark eats it.
If deer were susceptible to being killed by these plastic 6-pack things, I would drink nothing but 6-packs and just string these things all over my property.
That's funny. Kind of.
Yes, deer are rodents. Anyway, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I don't know. Did you have anything in the show to talk about, like 300 episodes or whatever? Because like I was
not in the show itself, but I have an idea of where I want to take it. The celebratory speech spiel.
Okay, well then I'll let you handle that. I'm fine. It got fucking cold today for the first day.
Yeah, it did.
This year. So I was pretty shocked. I went to work this morning, went out to the car, didn't have a jacket on, felt okay. Went out to my car when work was over and was like, holy fuck, it's like 40 degrees out. So super pumped that that's happening.
Yes, sir.
Other than that, doing okay.
Good. I have two. Well, the one thing I'll talk about that's hilarious will be later when we talk about games that we're playing. And I thought there was something else I wanted to bring up on the show. Halloween is come and gone. Trick or treat in my county, in my city. I did a great Michael Myers. It was fun. We don't need to go into that because we have to talk about episode 300 here. This is a monumental. All day I've been thinking about it. Up until today, it didn't really dawn on me. And we are a Wednesday podcast. We come out every Wednesday. If you don't know, now you do. And if you did, and you're like, well, what if I want to hear it earlier? The trick is to subscribe on Patreon. And typically we offer early episodes to our patrons. Usually the podcast will be available Monday. We are, in fact, recording this on a Monday, though. However, oh boy, Rivers Cuomo's in the house.
I found these. That's what I was just looking for. They were sitting on my desk. These are the same glasses that I wore for the Halloween episode we did where we dressed up as Wayne and Garth.
Oh, that's awesome.
From Wayne's World. So I found these glasses. It's literally just like they're sunglasses that I just took the lenses out of, so it just looks like the
Garth
nerd glasses.
Yeah.
But
love it.
Yeah, that was a fun episode.
Jeez. Yeah. But I thought there was something else I was going to talk about on the podcast. It's a moot point. I will talk about the one thing about games we're playing. But Jake, I wanted to do. We've been asking for a couple of weeks now, our listeners, like, what should we do on episode 3? Should we do it live? Should we do a recap of our favorite episode? Should we do whatever? And I want to go a step deeper and a step a little more personal about this podcast. And you can take it whatever direction you want. After I have nothing written down. But the title of this show, I wanted to title it. Instead of I Am Sparta, I Am PSTIA, and then have it be, because it's 300, and then Salud, we did it.
The line is, "This is Sparta."
Well,
so you know.
This is PSTIA, is what I'll title it. But you get the drift. This, let me refix it. This is PSTIA, Salud, we did it. That goes to show. But where I was going with this, man, was like, you start thinking about how long ago you and I started doing this, right? Dude, it's been 10 years for sure. And I don't know how many listeners we've actually kept from day one. Probably zero, because no podcast really has a listener base on day one. But if we have some really old school listeners out there listening, thank you. I don't presume that we do. And that's just as much our fault as it is anybody else's. We took a big hiatus in this podcast. But the one thing that we did, which is actually surprising looking back, man, is that we came back to this thing. And it's weird because we successfully let it go for a while. And there have been times, even recently, where I've been like, fuck, man, I got to go record the podcast. Like, my initial thought usually every week is, now I got to fucking go do this thing. But like, I've got a lot of irons and a lot of fires. You guys know I do music. You guys know I work a full-time job. I've got a house to hold down. We're always practicing. I do board game nights. Lots of things. I've got 2 bands, releasing a record right now with One Off by Land. I'm doing all the music video edits. I'm a very busy person, Jake. I don't have a lot of free time. You have your hobbies also. I mean, and then I started thinking about, why do I feel that way? And I think I'm just busy. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I think that that's on me. That's not on the show. But so that being said, I started thinking more. I was like, man, we've been doing this a long ass time. And then I went backwards and I started thinking about what would be a good conversation. What would be something kind of poignant to say on this episode that would mean something? And I know it's an arbitrary thing. It's episode 300. Is it? I don't know. We had a couple episodes that were prelude episodes or part episodes where we didn't get to record a full episode, but we wanted to say something. So this is episode 300 for us, but in actuality, we may have a couple more if you count actual releases. But that aside, man, I guess to bring it around is I started thinking, like, why have we been doing this so long? And like, what does not even P.S. this is awesome mean to me, but at the same part, like, what does PlayStation mean to me? And like, why are we doing this? And it's interesting. And then, maybe being the artsy fartsy person or the writer that I am, I started thinking about, this non-living thing that we keep coming back to. We've been gamers for a long time. And, when we're dead and gone, gaming probably is still going to be out there, which is cool. And it was there before. Well, I don't know if it was there before I came to 81. 70s. Yeah, it definitely was around. But like, so you think about it and then you're just like, wow, number one, it's really cool to contribute somewhat to the community. And number two, Jake, it's really cool to have a friend like you on the show to be able to do this with. You know what I mean? I often wonder, like, man, what if Jake gets in a freak accident or something and dies, or he gets in a hockey accident, gets his throat slit and dies, which just happened over the weekend to a hockey player. RIP. It's really sad. But then I'm like, well, what if something happened to me? Would Jake continue the show? And I'm like, man, I don't know. But I started thinking more and more and more about the show. And I know it's just episode 300, but then I started thinking like, man, think about all the things that have happened in both your life and my life since we started the show to where we're at now. So this show has been like some sort of, I don't know, to me, PlayStation and this show. So instead of celebrating like the show itself or our accomplishments as a podcast, thought it'd be nice to kind of put an emphasis on what PlayStation has been to us over the years. And by that, man, I just mean it's like it's been a fence to lean on over the years. It's been a silent friend, you know, in the evening when we're trying to cool down at night. It's been, you know, like an old standby that's always been around. And it's kind of interesting in that regard to me. And it's been a way to escape everyday stress. And it's been a way to kind of, you know, it's been a portal into these different distant lands and stuff. And like, it's been special in that regard. I mean, I met my wife, I think just before, if not, we'd already been doing the podcast. You know, we've been married for many years now. I've had 2-3 apartments. One of my land had started. I've released 3 albums during the time that we've had this podcast running. Three rock albums, a split EP, The God-Fearing Boy, and the Fred Oakman solo album. And we've managed to keep just the fucking wheels trucking on this thing, even if we've taken like a sabbatical. And you start thinking about the stretch of time that we've been doing this, and it's like, wow, it's really incredible. You know what I mean? Like I said, got married, we bought a house. I've seen major changes in my career. I started a new job that was a big deal to me in my life, and I've gotten 3 promotions, and we've kept the show pumping, man. And it's always kind of been this weird backbone, this nugget of friendship for you and I, and I'm happy to keep doing the thing. You know what I mean? And it's just so interesting to think about how much time passes. And I guess you don't... I think I might be losing the connection here, which kind of sucks. But it's just interesting. Oh, man, if I lost you, that's going to suck. Oh, my gosh, of course. I'm losing you, and then you're coming back in. But anyways, well, I guess where I was going, man, I don't know how much of that you heard. But like, it's incredible to think that we've done 300 episodes of this show to a very small audience. And I think it's less about the nugget of maybe being able to be successful as a podcast and we're never going to be able to survive off this thing. We barely make $5 a month, you know, truth be told, we barely do. But it's more about the community. It's more about us being able to spend some time together outside of the bullshit that work is, outside the bullshit of life, outside of the trouble, the wars that have happened, all the COVID shit. And I just think PlayStation's super kind of important to me because it's always there. You know what I mean? I'm afforded that luxury to always dive into a video game. So that's all I wanted to say. And I guess if you have anything you'd like to add, you can. But I definitely want to thank the listeners for listening to the show. It's cool.
Well, I literally heard nothing you've said for like the past 10 minutes. So basically,
awesome.
This podcast is weird because it's one of those things where it's had its ups and downs. Like when we first started it, it was really exciting and it was just full of enthusiasm and not a whole lot of coherence or skill, I guess. It was just like us rambling about video games.
Yeah, right.
And then it got to the point where I thought we were doing pretty good. We had some listeners.
So we just had some technical difficulties. Jake was telling us his opinions about the podcast and how it's kind of been weird. You know, we started off pretty strong. We're excited, yada, yada, yada. And then we cut out. Jake, you want to pick it up where we left off?
Yeah, I was just saying that it was kind of strange because it got a little bit stale because we were trying to stick to this rigid formula and we were reporting every little fucking thing, and it wasn't, whether we cared about it or not, and it wasn't necessarily working. And I don't want to say it wasn't working so much as that it was just like, we're just like, oh yeah, let's talk about the next fucking whatever game that's coming out that we don't care about, or like this person got a promotion at this company and it's like, okay,
never heard of them before, but we're talking about it.
Or whatever. Yeah. So like, I think it's gotten a lot, it's gotten a lot better since we've come back because we're just talking about news points that have some relevance to what we care about. And also we're spending a little bit more time talking about just like whatever, which I think is more fun, and it's more organic that way. But the one thing that I was listening to some of the, like, just for fun, I went back and listened to some snippets of like episode 1, and then I listened to some snippets of episode 100. Because what I was thinking about doing was like, well, we could do, I want to like have some touchstones, like episode 1, episode 100, and episode 200, kind of like what was going on at the time and sort of what we were talking about. I couldn't find episode 200 because it's not on YouTube and it's not on the Tumblr website. Weird. So you'd have to like, I don't have iTunes or anything.
You'd have to go to archive.org.
Like so I'd have to try and find, I think this was after that because we only use that for Tumblr, right?
I don't know, man.
So, because Tumblr goes up to like 193, I think.
I don't know what 200 was, though.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think we just probably talked about stuff from previous episodes. But the thing that I noticed, but at least as far as episode 1 and episode 100 goes, is that it really makes, I mean, and we're just, what's going on today is just kind of proof of it in a little ways. Like, I think it makes a big difference being in the same place as the person that you're talking to. Like, I'm going to be 100% transparent. Like, if we couldn't do this remotely, the podcast wouldn't happen. Right. It's like, I can't fucking be driving a half an hour to Meadville to record a fucking PlayStation show. Right. Once a week. So, because I don't live in town anymore. It was easier when I lived in town. I was only, 5 minutes from Fred or whatever. But now that I live 35 minutes from Fred, it's not really conducive to that type of thing. So, not to mention everything else that's going on. But I think that it does, it's just the dynamic is different. The thing that I thought was kind of interesting was we were talking about in the very first episode, we were talking about like, I was talking about making a level in Little Big Planet 2.
That's amazing.
Because I had never done it before. I was making a level in Little Big Planet 2 and how I made like this big figure that like would talk and stuff, and it was meant to be like a figure of you. And then there was like this big guitar where you would like jump over the strings and it would make noise, and you could like ride a microphone and it would launch you across the map. And I was just like listening to this podcast thinking about like how far just gaming has come since we started. Because I don't have a concrete date on that first episode, but it was sometime in like early, like late 2012 or early 2013 was when we started that. Because it was before The Last of Us. Yeah. So, and we were doing it at my house, and I bought my house in 2012. So it had to have been probably late 2012, early 2013. And there was no PS4. Like, we were still talking about playing PS3 games and all that. And then, so fast forward to episode 100, and that was where we had that. So just actually just to rewind just a minute, episode 1, I was thinking about and I kind of wish that there was some way that we could put it in this podcast, is kind of like to show the listeners that didn't go back that far, the original theme song from from way back when. I remember we were getting ready to record this podcast. It was either right before we recorded it or right after we finished before we posted it. And I don't remember what happened, but something along the lines of like, oh, we need a theme song. And for whatever reason, I don't remember if you were just like, just fucking record something real quick or whatever.
Yeah,
and so like, I just went down in my basement and just like picked up a guitar and just started fucking off. And like in a couple hours, just recorded this, like wrote and recorded this theme song. And it's like this like 50s kind of doo-wop or 50s rock and roll kind of just like jingle. That's just me saying "P.S. This is awesome" over and over again in like different mannerisms. And at the very end of it, there is the PlayStation 3 beep from whenever you turn the PS3 on. And I remember I took my laptop at the time up into my living room and put a microphone like right up to my PS3 and actually recorded it myself. Because like I'm sure there's like a sample somewhere of that fucking sound, but like I don't know. So like I just did it, and so it's like this kind of shitty recording, but at the same time, it's kind of cool in that it's just like super organic and very original, even if it is a little bit rough. And then you fast forward to episode 100, and that was when we had this like big round table in my basement.
Yeah.
There was like, I think it was me, you, Seth, Zach, Troy, Bryce, and Ted Giblin. And so, and Zach wasn't on, he was just there.
Yeah.
He wasn't on
He
mic,
didn't talk,
but
really.
everybody else was.
He didn't know anything about gaming. He's just there.
And I was listening to some of it, and it was just pretty interesting. We were talking about like the Destiny beta for the original Destiny on PS4, and we were talking with your brother quite a bit about JRPGs and stuff. And Troy was talking about how much he liked Quake 2. Which
hasn't changed.
How much he was playing it, which is wild because just recently he was talking about how like the Quake 2 remaster came out and he was just playing the crap out of that.
He couldn't wait to get it and play it. Yeah.
So it's wild to just think about. First of all, like I couldn't even imagine doing something like that remotely. Like if you're gonna have
that many people,
5-6 people. But there's just like what I was saying earlier about like what I kind of miss about doing it in person is that there's just like there's no latency in the conversation at all. Like there's direct feedback back and forth. The audio is just inherently so much better.
Yeah.
Like that's just something that sticks out to me immediately. I mean, obviously, like whenever you listen to the podcast now, Fred's audio is really good because he's recording direct.
I just have such a good voice.
But yeah, that's it. But mine's compressed because it's even though it's as good as it can get over like a streaming service, we're not recording like our own audio. So it's still going through Discord, which Discord has great sounding audio. Like I'm actually shocked a lot of times whenever I listen or watch our episodes, just like looking at some of it and thinking like, wow, it actually sounds really good for being over Discord or, cause like think about Skype audio or something that sounds like shit.
Yeah.
So
it does sound pretty good.
Pretty impressive, but, it's just not the same as recording it in person. But then, we took like 2 years off. But like the thing that was interesting about episode 102 is that we were both talking about planning our weddings because
crazy.
Neither of us were married yet. And so just to put some perspective on this, episode 1, just to give you an idea of like our hiatus and what it meant to the podcast, is episode 100. Fred and I weren't even, neither of us had gotten married to our significant others yet. And Sarah and I have been married for almost 8.5 years at this point. So that means that between episode 100 and episode 300, it's been
8 years. At
8
least.
years probably, or a little bit more, maybe 9 years, because we weren't married yet at the time. So that's crazy, because you think about, if you do an episode a week, there's 52 weeks in a year, roughly 100 episodes a year. It's kind of what it boils down to, 104. Or sorry, 2 years,
100 and some
would
episodes.
get you 104
Right.
episodes, right? So in 2 years, we recorded 100 episodes, and then it took us 9 years to record 200.
Yeah.
So there was not just a long hiatus of a year or two where we didn't do the podcast at all, but there was a significant period of time where we were only recording like once a month, like once
Right.
every couple months.
We held on. We
And,
would just kind of like drag it on.
Before we did the hiatus, and we just kind of said we just need to stop and then come back when we want to do it. And to be clear, like, COVID didn't have anything to do with this.
No.
Actually, we were already back in the swing of things, kind of, by the time COVID really took off. So it was just like I had moved to a new house, and like all this other shit was going on.
Well, you moved, and it was the logistics of recording it now became a challenge because we had never done episodes online before like this, right? So
Right.
the one benefit of COVID was that a lot of podcasts moved to this format. So like more information on how to do this was released, right? And we found a way to do it. But
Well, and we were doing.
you were coming over here.
Well, yeah, I was like, we did it at my house. Then I was going over to your place when you had your studio set up, and then we were doing. What was that service we used online for a little bit that we've talked about going back to?
Zencaster.
Yeah, Zencaster. And it worked pretty good, but then like we wanted to do video and all that. So like and not to mention Zencasters kind of sucks because you gotta like build everything manually. Like you get the audio files and you've got to kind of line everything up and do all that shit. And yeah, Zencaster does line it up for you, but you still have to do like all the editing and everything. And we were doing that for a while, and it worked out really well. And the audio was great because Zencaster does a really great job about the audio. But then it really got to the point where you came up with we wanted to do video, and you came up with the ability for us to kind of do it all at one shot. Like, because the only way that we're going to make it work is that it has to be convenient enough.
Right.
And so you were able to build like a system on your with OBS and everything on your machine that allowed everything to kind of just dropped right in.
Put down on tape.
Now,
yeah.
obviously, yeah. So now, obviously, there's some times where stuff still needs edited, like this episode when you got really bad tech or something like that. But I don't know. I think that overall, this is a better format. Mm-hmm. You know, I do kind of miss the days of getting together and doing it though. But it's just not really. I think a lot of that is nostalgia though, if you think about it, right? Because like, would it really be that exciting? Like, how exciting would it be if I had to drive over there, or you had to drive over here, or let's say I had to drive over there, just because that's probably more likely what would happen. And let's say it was like at the after work, or like something else was going on, or like, you know, your wife's trying to do something around the house, or I'm cranky because I'm fucking tired.
You've worked all day, you're tired. Now you're
It's
here.
just like.
Then we got to
so like I know that like that's not an excuse. Like I mean, it's not an excuse.
Well, it's a reason. It doesn't have to be like. It doesn't have to be. You know, you don't owe an excuse or a reason for that. I mean, the fact is that's what it would be. You know, and I don't know what the listeners. I mean, this is fun. Don't get me wrong. And you might have only caught the beginning of what I was saying. I think ultimately, yeah, I'm glad that we're doing it the way we're doing it, and I'm glad that the podcast is able to live this way. But a lot of what I said, Jake, was that I just, this podcast is, and I'm going to leave what I said in because I know it recorded it, but I know you didn't hear a lot of it. But ultimately, like, this podcast has seen, so many big changes in our lives. You know what I mean? Like you said, like, we got married. You've bought in 2 houses. Well, you don't own 2, but you went through 2 home purchases. Yeah. He's not rolling in it, guys. Well, maybe he is, but we won't tell you. There have been wars fought and won and lost throughout the world. We've had pandemics. I've had a big career change. I've started One Up by Land. Like I was saying, I've released, 3 records with One Up by Land. Well, the 3rd one's coming out soon. And then I did the Flood record. You've joined a band with me in the meantime. Like, we're in a real band now. Like, so much shit has happened, man. Like, a lot of, like, we have a dog. You have multiple dogs in your life. I mean, I've taken up 3D printing, mini gaming. We've had some really good successes. We've had some trivial failures in life, but like, the one constant, dude, has been, even though it hasn't been always constant, it's been, like I said earlier, it's been an old standby. It's always kind of been a fence to lean on, has been PlayStation and this podcast, and ultimately, I think that, I like what it's become, and even sometimes still, I'm like, God damn, I got to go fucking record the podcast. I got to go write up some notes. It's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, and it's okay that it's a pain in the ass. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that it's a fucking pain in the ass. You know what I mean? But I love to do it still. Just like music and playing gigs. It's a pain in the ass sometimes, but I'm grateful for it. Maybe it's just my way of looking at shit, dude. But like, I'm grateful for so much of what PlayStation has given me. Like, the late nights where I can't sleep, the weekends when I'm stressed out over work, and maybe, Chelsea's on vacation or she's out of the house for a night and I got something and I can do something, and I don't want to play guitar, and I don't want to, do the menial shit that everybody else does. I can jump into PlayStation and like be teleported into like a world and just kind of veg out and have fun. It keeps us young. You know what I mean? Gaming has found a way into my heart and has kept me young. And I think it's important for the listeners and for us to remember how, like you always say, Jake, it's not a right to be able to game. It's a privilege. And we have gotten ourselves into situations where we can afford the latest gaming tech, and we're able to do these things, and it's a hobby. His podcast has become a labor of love, which I truly believe. But man, I'm just grateful that we've made it to 300, and I think that looking back, like you said, I didn't go revisit the episodes or anything, but you're 100% right. It would be cool to be able to hang out once in a while. And when we did that cool Final Fantasy thing, we went down to Pittsburgh. We got free tickets to watch the Pittsburgh Philharmonic play the fucking Final Fantasy, whatever it was, or whoever the fuck it was.
Distant Worlds thing they did. Yeah, it was awesome.
We got free tickets to go to that. I mean, we did get one official game review once, and that was cool for a game called Haunt the House on Vita. Somehow I landed a game, them to give us a free game. It was like a $5 game, but I was so stoked. But we quit doing that. We'll talk about whatever games we decide to play or whatever. But dude, I'm grateful for our friendship and our relationship, and the fact that you're still here and I'm still here and we're able to do this. You know what I mean? I think that's the bread and butter of this whole thing, is like, this podcast, while I won't say is the glue to our friendship, it definitely is something we both have in common that none of our other friends have, that we have, which is kind of cool, I think. We do this fucking thing weekly, and we talk fucking shop, and, that's fun. But I don't know, man. I'll let you go on. But I was just with my little thing we're having internet connections. I was just kind of like, instead of celebrating the show, just the show, but like in our accomplishments, but like, what has PlayStation meant to you, like over the years? Like, it's always kind of been there. You know what I mean? It's always been silently sitting in the corner waiting to be turned on. It's powering my YouTube channel as I go to sleep every night. Sony's sitting there, and it's, the VR for the first time has been on a PlayStation. I don't know. It's interesting to me that it's always kind of been somehow tethered to my existence in a weird way. Back to you.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, if I didn't have PlayStation, would I play somewhere else? Probably. You know, I don't think that I would quit gaming if PlayStation were to just up and disappear tomorrow. But I definitely think that, like, my life, even though I don't game nearly as much as I used to be able to, and quite frankly, it's difficult for me to even sit still that long anymore. My day-to-day, just my general sort of routine would be vastly different. Like, I start every single day playing video games. Sometimes that's all I get to do. Like, actually most days, the only video gaming I do is 30 minutes or an hour when I wake up in the morning before I go to work. That's the only time I get to play video games all day. And I feel bad for the listeners because they're probably like, he's been talking about fucking Cyberpunk for a month and a half now. And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but like, I only get to play games like 5 to 10 hours a week. It takes me a long time to get through.
I wish you were talking about Cyberpunk for a month and a half. You're talking about whatever the fuck game you're playing. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, I mean, I'm just giving an example.
What is the game though that you've been playing? The Bethesda game, Starfield. Sorry, go ahead.
Starfield.
I couldn't remember.
I mean, I've been playing Spider-Man now, but I was playing Starfield for a long time. But it's like, you know, this is, you know, and obviously we don't need to dive into why we, like, this is the main reason why we lament the fact that games are so fucking long now. Like, everything has to be so fucking long now because people don't want to spend money on games, which is fine. I mean, everybody, like, if I was 15, this would be the greatest time to be alive playing video games.
Yeah, dude.
But the fact is that I'm 36 and quite frankly, I don't have that much time to play games. Now, I'm hoping I tend to have a lot more time to play games in the winter because I don't have nearly as much work to do around the house. I mean, there's still stuff to do inside, but I don't have to worry about yard work and all this other junk. So I don't have as many outdoor activities, just basically hockey. So
yeah,
I'm excited to get back into gaming a little bit more, hopefully. And I'm glad to be doing it on PlayStation. I don't know if I am gonna love, like, if let's say we make it to episode 600, am I still gonna love PlayStation and where it's at? I don't know. I can't say, especially with the, you know, it seems like they're shifting the live service and things like that. You never know, like, what's going to happen with these things. Who knows? Sony might not even be here in that time. They'll be here by the time. Like, if we record every week, that would be 5 more years, right? So, or 6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
I'd be 48.
6 more years.
Be 48.
So,
Jesus,
that's a fucking long ass time. And who knows what the world will hold at that point in time. But I would like to think that even then, when we're playing our video games, we're still going to be talking about a Last of Us or a Cyberpunk.
In 6 years, hell yeah, we will be.
Freaking, you know, a Journey or a Skyrim or something like that. Like, you know, and it's not just like whatever the newest iteration of Fortnite is,
right,
or whatever it is. So, I don't know. I have faith that the industry is going to stay good. So I'm not super worried. I mean, you know, have a single player focus in some capacity. So I don't know that that's really going to be too much of an issue. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point.
All right. Well, let's do this. Did you come prepared? Did you bring a shot?
With what?
Did you bring a shot?
Oh, I
you got
snuck
something
upstairs. I'm reaching over.
He's gonna grab a bottle. He's gonna get right out of it. All right, very good. So
bottle of
if you're a listener of the show and you're old enough to have one with us, drink responsibly.
Don't do it in the car.
Don't do it while you're driving. Wait till you get home. But pause the episode now. Wait till you can sit back and
wait till you're sitting on the toilet. I want to have somebody doing a shot while they're taking a dump.
Yes, please. And I don't even know if this is even YouTube allowable. And it's non-alcoholic, just so you know.
What's that?
This is non-alcoholic, just so you know, YouTube. So, you know, for the listeners and for our show, Jake, and for our friendship, to a show that may not mean much to a lot of people, but it means a lot to a few of us. And that's all that matters. Here's to 300 and 300 more. All right, Jacob. Salud, my friend. Very good. We've officially hit 300, and it feels good. And that's all the listeners. He's like totally like having a moment over there.
Well, so I'm a whiskey drinker.
Yeah. What was that?
And it was peach vodka.
Non-alcoholic, right?
Yeah, non-alcoholic peach vodka. And but all of the whiskey that I have, like I have a few whiskeys downstairs, but it's all stuff that like I don't like. It's too expensive to just like do a random shot of it.
Yes,
so
sir. It's so funny.
But I do have some stuff that's for mixing, like gin and vodka and stuff.
Fucking
And
vodka, Jesus.
I thought, the peach vodka will be good.
Won't be
because
as
it, like,
bad.
has some flavor to it.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's,
I don't know.
Let's get on with the show. The timestamps are going to be screwed up, guys. We had technical difficulties at the beginning, which sucks. I'm going to save what I had to say because I feel like what I said came from the heart. So we're going to keep that in there, but it's going to screw up the timestamps. I don't even know I'm going to put the timestamps on this episode. It might just make you listen to the whole thing. But
people should listen to the whole thing. If they don't listen to the whole thing, then they're not real fans.
That's true. Jesus. All right. Well, so we celebrated episode 300 just now. Thank you for tuning in. And that was a quick rehash on the podcast, what it means to us, what PlayStation means to us. And we're going to move on with the episode. So every episode we talk about games that we're playing. And Jake, I've been talking about, can't look at you seriously, those glasses on.
Dude, I look fly in these fucking glasses, man.
Yeah,
I might have to take up glasses.
You should wear them when we play shows. People will be like, man, that guy's cool.
Especially without the lenses. I'll put some tape around it and look like a total fucking idiot.
All right. No
Get
comment.
a Chiefs jersey. That'd be sick. I could dress up like one of the Hanson brothers from Slapshot.
God. So games we're playing. You're funny. Let me think here. I finished Phantom Liberty and I sent you a text. Top five games on my list. Boom. Said it. It's so good.
Top 5 games ever played, period.
Uncharted. All the Uncharted's count as one. All the Last of Us count as one. Witcher counts as one. That leaves 2. I guess Cyberpunk's going to have to count as one. I don't know what the 5th would be. Dude, Cyberpunk.
Everything on your list. Sometime we'll need to do. I'm sure we've done this in the past, but sometime we should like sit down and think about really like what our favorite games of all time are, because
I can't do that list. It's too hard. When I say top 5,
it doesn't have to be conclusive. I mean, your top 5 is going to change from day to day.
Even when I say top 5, dude, I don't mean that it's maybe actually in my top 5. But if you were to ask me right now what one of my favorite games is, I would definitely say Cyberpunk 2077. One of my favorite games,
yeah,
for sure. I don't know where it goes in the echelon of games in my list, but it's fucking great.
I think it certainly helps. It certainly helps when you're just coming off of the experience.
Dude, let me just say one funny thing that happened. And then I'll tell you the other game I'm playing, and then I want to hear what you're playing. But you're right. The DLC for this game, sweet baby Jesus, is so good. It's no longer an illusion of choice in this game. The decisions you make, the game puts you in situations where you make decisions that affect who is in control of Dogtown, who survives of the NPCs, who dies, who your friends are, who your friends are not. And it's no longer an illusion of choice, which is what came with the original Cyberpunk. The expansion with the DLC, I guess I should rephrase, Cyberpunk 2077 with the DLC Phantom Liberty is one of my favorite games. By the end of the game, I beat the DLC. The way you play it potentially gives you a different way to beat the game, to end the whole fucking game. And I did this, and it's fucking sombering as oh, get out, dude. Like, the way this shit ends, I want to spoil it, but I'm not going to. But I played a female character, and I was just a fucking badass. I was great with blades. I was very fast. I could jump dash. I could dash. I was reflecting bullets. In fact, I reflected a bullet and headshotted somebody with the ricochet, and his just head like fucking exploded. And then when I pull out my pistol, everything would go slow-mo, and I could do these slide shots and stuff. Hack people while I'm in the car. Dude, it was awesome. The energy was so good in this game. At the very end of this game, without spoiling anything, there's a really sentimental moment, right? Where like I'm playing, I'm like, oh fuck. I'm all in on this wrap up, right? This new ending to Cyberpunk. I'm like jaw on the floor. Can't believe this is how they're writing the ending for V. I'm like, this is insane. And then the camera cuts. The camera fucking cuts away because it's all first person, and then it cuts away so you can see yourself in the middle of the city. For some reason, my character was buck ass naked. So like I'm like getting like a little teary eyed, like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this with the story. And then the camera pans out and it's just this naked fucking bald headed lady just standing in the middle of the street. And people are just walking past her and like bumping her and shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck is what is this? I saved the video because it's one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. And they don't hide nudity in the game. It's just really jarring and confusing because that didn't line up with what was supposed to have been happening. I'm like, this is clearly a bug. This is clearly some sort of bug in the game that the last cutscene for the new thing, if you have certain stuff equipped or maybe you're using an outfit instead of individual clothing, it just like, boom, it takes it off your character. And it was fucking weird. And I'm like, wait, is this what they're trying to do? And I'm like, no, there's no fucking way. No way. So, yeah, it was really funny, dude. But, like, highly recommend the game, dude. It crashed 3 times on me. I have 60 new hours in this game. I couldn't stop fucking playing it. I want to go back and keep playing it. I want to max everything out. It's so good. Smooth as fucking butter. The crashes weren't super detrimental to didn't lose a save or anything. I just went right back in. It was fine. That out of the way, if you are a Cyberpunk 2077 skeptic, I highly recommend that you get this fucking game and play it. And get the DLC and do the DLC as soon as it comes up on your phone. Holy shit, it is good. That's all I gotta say. And this is coming from someone who's pretty critical of fucking games. I'm pretty critical of story and shit. I really, really think that this game is under... It's not being sold to the public as being like this masterpiece, which I think it is. 100% I think it is. Outside of that, I bought and started Alan Wake 2. And this is still episodic like the original Alan Wake, so I am 2 chapters in, starting chapter 3. And it's fucking creepy as shit. It's got Resident Evil vibes. Shoot me if you want, but I'm playing it at 30 frames per second. And it is... I've played it both ways, but it is absolutely beautiful. This game looks so good. I can't even put the words. It's like, honestly, as pretty as Cyberpunk. Like, it's... I'm so excited for video games right now. Alan Wake is good. The story's great so far. It's a little confusing, as it should be. It's a Remedy. I don't know that I know what's going on, but it's good. And my initial impressions of Alan Wake 2 is I can't wait to just jump right back in and play it. If you've seen any trailers, I'm in an area. It's kind of open sandbox, kind of closed sandbox, maybe the chapters. So it's not full open world like you would think. You use a vehicle to travel to different points. Sam Lake is in it, which is just so weird to see him in video games.
He's like he's one of the detectives, right?
He plays Casey, Alex Casey, who is, they haven't made it clear yet, but in the original Alan Wake is famous because he's a writer for a detective series, and the detective's name's Alex Casey. So Sam Lake plays Alex Casey in Alan Wake 2, but Alex Casey's constantly making comments. Yeah, I know, I've got the same fucking name. I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? It's like just a coincidence. So like they start fucking with your head. You're like, I think maybe you are the guy. But it's cool. It's a minor spoiler. Sorry, guys. But it's not really a spoiler at all because in the trailer. But there's a sandbox level where you're in a city. And I am just fucking gobstopped over this game. How pretty it looks. It's so fucking good. Surprisingly, it got a 10 out of 10 on IGN. I think that's one of the highest scores it's gotten. But I haven't played it enough to give it any kind of initial, like, you guys need to play it or whatever. But for the price point, I'm really impressed with everything. I will say this, coming out of, believe it or not, coming out of Phantom Liberty DLC, I truly think that the acting is better in Phantom Liberty than this game, and it's strikingly noticeable to me. I mean, they're still good in both. Don't get me wrong; it's not fucking bad at all in Alan Wake, but and I only mean the acting as far as the voice acting. The actual live action stuff in Alan Wake is really good. The voice acting just seems like it needs to be sold just a little bit more to me. But the environment makes up for that, and I just buy it. I buy it. It's good. It's all good. But the Cyberpunk shit, holy fuck, man. Idris Elba, all these people, V's voice acting, the female V, so fucking good. The Ripper, who's it? Victor, the Ripper Doc, all of his new lines. I actually would go as far to say in the DLC, Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves, is the worst voice acting in that game. He's not a voice actor. I mean, Keanu Reeves' voice is his voice. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he goes, how many times do I have to tell you? These guys drink shit for breakfast. You know, just stupid shit like that. And it's like there's no heart in Johnny Silverhand. Maybe it's that way but back to Alan Wake, dude. It's fucking great. Alan Wake 2 is great. I'm excited to hear about what you're playing. You said something about Spider-Man 2, so if you want to just lay on us a little bit what you're feeling, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'm playing Spider-Man 2. I stopped playing Starfield. I might have did this right before the last podcast. I don't remember, but and I really like it. I mean, well, Spider-Man, it's not going to be bad. It's going to be good. I guess people have been saying that they've seen a lot of bugs in the game. I haven't really seen any bugs in the game other than one. The only bug that I can even remember is there was a time when I was playing it where there was zero ambient music at all or sound. Like when I would walk around, I would still get like footsteps and like like it would make noise when I would shoot my web shooters and stuff like that. But there was no like ambient city sound going on. And then as soon as I would jump off of the building and start swinging, you would get like the hero music would start playing, which is great. And then I would stop and there'd be no city sound. And then I triggered I triggered a cinematic or something, and then it was totally fine after that. But other than that, I really like it. The story is kind of wild. The symbiote, the Venom story is pretty interesting. I remember even with the first Spider-Man, especially for like the first 2/3 or half or 2/3 of the game, just struggling with the combat. Because they like, it's not that it's bad. It's just, I think that it's just something about, like, it's hard for me because they just dogpile enemies on you.
Yeah, they do.
And especially in this game, and they give you like the ability to basically dodge anything you want because of the Spidey sense and all that junk. But like this game, they add these enemies that like they can grappling hook themselves up to the wall and then shoot like these freaking like just like a bunch of like arrows at you that explode, and then they like zip line around, so you got to like try and chase them and tie them up before you kind of handle the other enemies. Then they did this one thing that I'm getting used to it, so it's not really bugging me too bad anymore, but I hate, and this is just me being a little bit of a baby, but I really don't like it when games force you to parry.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that especially someone like Spider-Man who can fucking dodge and swing out of the way, like he shouldn't ever have to parry anything. He should just be able to dodge out of the way. But in this game, there are enemies that you cannot dodge the attacks. You have to parry them. And the indication for the parry prompt is the same color, just a slightly different shape than the standard Spidey sense. So when they do that, it's a little bit difficult. Now, they do make it in the menus where you can go in and change the color of these things. So you can actually change the color of the parry prompt so that you like can differentiate it from like the regular dodge or attack or whatever.
Yeah, that's good.
The one thing that I do like about the menus is that they have a dynamic, or I think one of the Tomb Raider games did this, where they have a detailed difficulty where you can actually go in and adjust the difficulty of the combat, or you can adjust how much health they have versus how much damage you do, and like you can really kind of tweak your difficulty. So if you're struggling with one particular aspect but you want everything else, like like let's say you're struggling with the puzzles but you're really good at the combat, you can make the puzzles like a little bit easier, but you can make the combat, the normal difficulty or whatever. I will say that they do have puzzles in this game. I don't know if you remember the first game had those like fucking
computer wasn't a fan
or whatever, and me either. So they have other puzzles that are similar in this game. I did the first couple, but just like in the first game, you can literally just hit options, skip puzzle. It doesn't penalize you at all. It doesn't cost you a trophy or anything. And so I literally skip every fucking puzzle because it's like, it's cool that it's there for people that are into that sort of thing. And I can understand why some people might be interested in doing, because like the new puzzles especially are a little bit interesting. But like, I'm not playing Spider-Man to fucking, create some genome in a lab. Like it just, like, it doesn't really jive.
I get it. Peter Parker's smart.
Yeah. So the one last thing that I'll say is that like the game is really good. I'm really liking the story. It's the one last thing that I'll say though is that it's really cool that you can change back and I don't have a solution for this, by the way. It's cool that you are playing as Miles and Peter, but I think it hurts the story because you do all this bouncing back and forth and it damages the pacing of the story. And so I think what they should have done is they should have stick with Peter for his story and then maybe switch to Miles for key elements and then possibly have Miles Morales be fully playable as extra content or DLC or something. It could have been interesting for them to be I get that they don't want to send Miles down the river as this sort of subpar character.
Yeah.
They want him to be, but this is very much Peter Parker's story. Miles Morales has a story as well, but it's way less important than what's going on with Peter and the symbiote, and I don't want to really get into too much of it because I don't want to spoil anything. But I think that what I really wish that they would have done is that maybe allow you to utilize Miles in some more of the open, more optional kind of parts of the game, and maybe even as DLC or fuck, if they wanted to be really like out of the box, maybe at the beginning of the game you could choose whether the main story was about Miles or fucking Peter. Like, imagine if there was a story arc where Miles gets wrapped up with the symbiote, and how that affects his relationship with like his mom and like everybody in Harlem, and like they could have almost done like branching stories where you choose whether like which character. Now, the way that they wrote the story, it kind of has to be Peter, but like. And I don't know if there was ever any in the comic book world any like universe in which Miles is with Venom or whatever, but like I don't know. It doesn't in any way make the game bad. The game is still good. The story's still great. I just think that the bouncing back and forth, and then some of these missions that you have to do, like it seems like when you jump over to Miles, it's like, oh, do this fucking like benign task for your neighborhood, and then like, oh, while that's going on, sorry, my phone's ringing.
Benign to you, I mean,
yeah, I mean it's
citizens
cool,
of
like,
New York City don't feel that way.
Like, I think that it's very cool in like a universe building standpoint. Right. But whenever they purposefully break you away from this crazy story with Peter and the symbiote and what's going on in his life, to have fucking, Miles go get groceries, that's not a thing, by the way. I'm just like making a point. Like, you could see what I mean by it. Like, it harms the pacing of the game.
Sure.
Like, imagine, it's kind of like me thinking about like you having this emotional moment in fucking Cyberpunk, and then like it zooms out and your character's just like standing in the street naked. It's like, imagine, it breaks the suspension of disbelief
a little bit.
Imagine, if you're like, it's like you're like halfway through the emotional moment, and then it cuts over to like an hour of you as Victor sweeping up the Ripper Doc shop.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, okay, like, but there's some cool dialogue in there, so it's very neat world building kind of thing or whatever. But it's like you ripped me out of this thing that I was already kind of emotionally sort of charged up for.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to go on too long, but. Long roundabout way of saying I like it. I'm about 15 hours or so into it. I think I'm like 70% of the way through the main story. Wow. So I should be, by next podcast, I should be done with the main story. And then what remains to be seen is whether or not I'll see it through to the platinum like I did Miles Morales and the first Spider-Man game. I'm kind of anxious to play Alan Wake, I'm not going to lie. But I know, according to what they say, it's a little bit of a longer game. So I kind of want to just get through Spider-Man. Dude,
Alan Wake's fucking crazy.
It really boils down to whether or not Sarah wants to be involved with Alan Wake, because if I'm playing that with her, I'm not going to want to play it by myself. So I don't know.
I'll say this, which you don't see often in a game, and this is a spoiler, but it's not one that's going to ruin the game. I'm actually offering it as protection to you all. There's an option to turn off nudity in the game. If you do not, you will see a penis. That's all I'm going to say.
Fuck yeah.
It's awesome.
I hope there should be more
I don't think I've ever seen a dick in a game. Until Alan Wake 2.
You can see dicks in Cyberpunk, and you can see.
Oh, they do have them. Yeah, they flop around.
and you can change the size of your dick if you want.
There's
change the
dildos
size
and all
your
kinds
boobies.
of things in Cyberpunk.
You know,
Which is why I think it's
but
top
I
5
do
game.
I do admit this is in a totally from a totally heterosexual perspective. Like, we've seen a lot of boobs in games.
Yeah.
We don't see any dongs, and I think that, you know, for all the ladies out there, maybe they want to see a big fucking hog flopping around on the screen.
And there's nothing better than a dead person's dong. That's all I'm going to say.
Dude, just a quick sidebar. A long time ago, before Sarah and I got married, and I was visiting her in college, she went to school in Philadelphia, and there was the Philadelphia Museum of Natural History. They had an Egypt exhibit, and we went to it because it's a big museum, so it was like a legit exhibit. They had all these mummies and shit. It was fucking awesome. But one of the most unsettling things about the entire experience was that there was a mummy there, and, you know, the mummy's all wrapped up in cloth or whatever. They independently wrapped the dong on the mummy. So it was like the arms and the legs were independently wrapped, and then the dong was just independently wrapped, like sticking out there. And I'm like, wow, this fucking mummy is hung. And it's just like, why is this a thing?
I'm going to request that they do that for me.
Can you imagine, like, these fucking Egyptian priestesses,
my death,
like 2,000, 1,500 years ago, being like 2,000, 3,000 years ago, being like, I guess I got to wrap this guy's dong because he's like the next closest thing to fucking Anubis or whatever. I don't know. I don't know anything about Egypt.
I just want them to do that when I die, is mummify me and wrap my dong separate. But, like, give me a couple extra wraps. You know what I'm saying? Just give me a couple extra. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe stick a little something in there and then wrap it up.
Yeah, cut off my thumb and throw it in there or something. Just give it a little extra something. I won't know.
Take that dong to the afterlife with you.
Yes, sir. All right. We are not a podcast for children. Let's get into listener feedback. If you want to write the show, you can write us at pssawesome@gmail.com. You could also leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Or, as we prefer, subscribe to our Patreon for $1 a month and leave us a comment there. Otherwise, Big Box writes in on YouTube, and he says a potentially difficult question. You two started PS This Is Awesome during the era of PlayStation single-player dominance. If, say, in a couple of years, you notice PlayStation's turned into a multiplayer-centric company and Xbox starts putting together year after year of great single-player offerings, could you see this impacting the podcast? Theoretically, what would need to happen for you to reassess? I almost read that. What did you have if you two reasses? It says reassess. Jesus. What need to happen for you two to reassess the focus of PSTIA? Great show as always. Thank you for writing in, Big Box. We appreciate you still listening to the show. I think ultimately, as we kind of just got done saying on the celebratory 300 send off, dude. I think, like, for me, I think I'm gonna go where the games are good. Where I think the games are good. If for some reason Sony quit having shitty games on their or started having shitty games on their platform, and I couldn't find anything that really drew me in, but I'm looking at these Xbox commercials or Switch or whatever, PC, and I'm seeing games that, like, more appealed to my liking, I'm gonna be more prone to buy that system. That doesn't mean I'm gonna quit on PlayStation though. I don't think that it would have a potentially big effect on our podcast. You know, I don't know that it would affect it outside of, you know, every once in a while Jake will talk about Xbox games on the show. And I think that if there's a game that drew me hard enough to get an Xbox and try a single player game on Xbox or somewhere else, I would probably do so, especially if it was exclusive out there. I'd probably come back with my reportings. We probably wouldn't rebrand the show. It's always been PS This Is Awesome. So it would always stay that. And, you know, for us to reassess the focus, I don't even know where the focus would need to be. If we're not going to rebrand it, it's going to be hard to change the focus to just video games in general. But we've always kind of been that way anyways, with just this huge focus on PlayStation. So we're going to focus on whatever games we're technically playing. But the news points are always probably going to be PlayStation related. Jake?
First of all, this is a huge hypothetical. Like, the world would have to cave in for this to be true. Because, I mean, their entire studio lineup is built around single player games at the moment. Like when he says a couple years, we're talking like 5-10 years away. So like at that point, are we even still doing the podcast? I don't fucking know. I might be dead by then. But it's in a hypothetical scenario where everybody at Sony loses their fucking mind and Naughty Dog is making Fortnite clones and freaking Insomniac is making Match 3 puzzle games and freaking, Sucker Punch is doing like like MOBAs.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then yeah, I'll just play on Xbox, even though I think that for me personally, outside of the games, the Xbox user experience is inferior to PlayStation. I would argue that Xbox Live as a service is still better in terms of its especially with Game Pass, in terms of its value, it's better than PlayStation. But like outside of the games, because the games are fine, but the controller and the UI of the system and everything, I don't like it. But I already play there occasionally, so it's not like it would be too much out of the realm of possibility to see the gradient between my time split on Xbox and split on PlayStation kind of shift the other direction as the games go. Like you say, I'm going to play where the games are. And what would happen to the podcast if that's this case? I don't know. Like if we if 10 years from now or 5 years from now, let's say we're still doing the podcast and every single news point is about like the latest fucking thingamajig skin for the newest freaking online
Fortnite
whatever
game
thing,
or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
then it's
Roblox.
Like, I don't know that there's really going to be much for us to talk about there unless we really get into that kind of gaming, which is entirely possible. Things change. But what'll that mean to the podcast? There's going to be a PS This Is Awesome, a podcast called PS This Is Awesome about fucking Xbox. or PC or fucking Switch, like you said, or maybe another console. Maybe Apple comes out with a console.
PS This Is Awesome, previously a PlayStation podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, to be honest with you, like, I'm fortunate enough to have a PlayStation and an Xbox and a gaming PC. So I'm capable of bouncing around, and I get all of the user experience, and I still 100% prefer to play on PlayStation. Even though Game Pass is this amazing deal, it has all these great games on it, like, short of there being a game on there that I really don't feel like paying for, I would much rather play on PlayStation.
Oh, you and me both.
They could sweeten the pot for me by letting me use my fucking DualShock 4. But I don't know. I think that
it's a nice question.
That we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine.
We're going to be just all right. Thanks for the question. Up next, we can talk about the news. Every episode, we go over some news points, and we're going to probably go through these pretty quick. First news point, and again, I'm not time coding this episode at all. I'm not going through it. It's too late. We're already behind schedule. Recording this on Monday night. But Modern Warfare 3 is rumored to be 140 gigabytes. Can we please get a campaign and online split finally? Is my note. Yeah. To be honest, the campaign probably is what's taking up the majority of this, all the textures and stuff. But this is kind of being normal for new games. You know, that's a lot of memory, Jake. That's a big download. It's a big game. When are we ever going to get these split? Wouldn't that be awesome?
What would be great is if this was this could honestly be one of those altruistic kind of things that Xbox could do with this platform. Because I'll be honest with you, the one thing that does excite me about Xbox having Activision is that because I have Game Pass, now I can go back through and play all the fucking Call of Duty games campaigns with Game Pass if I want.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. But what would be dope is if, like, dude, I don't care if they fucking charge $40 or $50 for it.
Right.
But if they're like, hey, for $50, here's just the Call of Duty campaign on PlayStation. Fuck yeah. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't do that. They make money doing that. You could sell I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know much about business. I'm kind of an idiot, but I don't even necessarily know if I agree with you that it could be that most of this is the single player, but there's just all, like, they have to have every asset for every map and fucking gun and pickup and weird skin and like literally everything forever in the vault and in perpetuity. It all has to be there. That's why these downloads are so big. And Modern Warfare 3 gonna be 140 gigs. Just hold on to your britches, because this shit's only going to ramp up higher and higher. I
get that SSD installed.
I mean, I know that every major game that I've played recently has been over 100
Oh,
gigs.
yeah, for sure.
So, like, what was do you remember what Alan Wake 2 was?
No, I don't remember. I installed it from, I set the download up while I was at work on my break. I set up the PlayStation app, and then he's got home and it's ready to play. I have no idea how many gigs it was.
That's wild.
Yeah, dude. Next news point. FromSoftware has a plan to increase their studio size via a huge recruitment campaign, with an Elden Ring expansion most likely nearing completion. What does the developer have to beef up for? So the rumor is that Elden Ring is, not Elden Ring, but FromSoftware is gearing up to release work on some new projects, and they're probably going to be Sony projects. I don't know if they are or not, but they're going to probably be on PlayStation. They're not first party. So, and then there is an Elden Ring expansion that people are talking about, and they're saying that it's, the fact that they're increasing their studio size only means that they're probably moving on to another project. So, Jake, I don't know what you want to see from this company. I mean, we got Armored Core from them, and we've got the Elden Ring game. What is the other Borns? Is Bloodborne? Was that?
So they did Bloodborne. Yeah. They did Demon Souls. They did Dark Souls.
The Souls-like. Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Sekiro, Elden Ring, Kingsfield, fucking Armored Core. Yeah. So it's cool that they're increasing their studio size. FromSoftware is one of those studios that I like their games, but I just can't play them. They're too fucking hard. They're too much of a skill commitment.
Yeah.
I find myself so often now, because like I mentioned earlier, I only get to play video games for half hour to an hour a day. Maybe on the weekends I get to play for a couple hours. And I don't necessarily always want to spend I don't want to have to spend all this extra time getting good, if that makes any sense. So that doesn't mean that I play games on easy. A lot of times if I'm replaying a game, just like ripping through it to kind of get back through the story, like replaying Uncharted or something, I'll play it on easy just because I really don't care about it. I just like want to experience the story again or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if I'm playing a game for the first time, I'm always playing it on normal.
Yeah, right.
That's just kind of how I do it, right? But
sometimes easy, dude.
The FromSoftware games, dude, normal is fucking hard as shit because they only have one difficulty.
Hold on, I'm getting a delivery. Keep going.
So I'm excited for them to increase their studio size, because maybe this means that they'll be able to split into two teams. I mean, maybe they already had two teams. I guess I don't know for sure. They had to have been working on Armored Core a little bit while they were working on what was the other game that they did? Elden Ring. So I could see FromSoftware might be turning into one of these Insomniac like teams where they might have 3 games in the pipeline, where it's like, Insomniac's got Miles Morales, then the next year it's Ratchet and Clank, then the next year it's fucking Spider-Man 2, then the next year it's going to be Wolverine, and now maybe maybe FromSoftware is going to be like, bam, Elden Ring 2, bam, fucking Dark Souls 4, bam, fucking whatever, Armored Core 7, or maybe they remake something else, or maybe they do a new IP or whatever, Bloodborne 2, who the fuck knows. So good for them. I mean, they're fucking loaded.
Yeah, dude. They have
Elden Ring was so successful. They're fucking loaded. And I think even Armored Core, even though it wasn't as big as Elden Ring, I think it probably did pretty well. People liked it.
Yeah, they have their fan base and stuff, and they're kind of set up, man. But I agree. I don't know what they're working on. I mean, it'd be cool if it's a new property. I don't really see a reason for them to go back. It's probably like a new fucking, I don't know, whatever, Bloodborne or something. It'd be called Blood Souls. In an interview with GQ, Jake, Sam Lake, the director of Remedy Entertainment, who just recently released Alan Wake 2, already has his sights on the future, stating he wants to make a huge budget, dark gothic fantasy game. And speaking of Alan Wake, Remedy has already outlined expansion content for the game to include some free DLC, but additionally 2 larger expansions at a cost. The first being Night Springs and the second being the Lake House. There's no release date yet for either, but if interested, they did go into detail what the expansions will include, as well as the free New Game Plus, which they indicate is a new take on New Game Plus, which is not out yet either, but that will be free DLC. Go ahead.
Can I just comment on the fact that I watched it was like IGN something for Sam Lake or something, where he was like explaining the story so far with Alan Wake, and it was like fucking 20 minutes of him just talking about what happened and what's going on. And the thing that I didn't realize is that, like, I never played the extra episodes. Like, I don't know because you played Alan Wake Remastered. I don't know if you played the extra episodes or not.
I did.
But, you did? But they had those, and then they had American Nightmare, which was not a part of the remastered game. And apparently those are like scrapped scenarios from Alan Wake's story as he's trying to escape the dark place. Spoilers, I'm sorry.
No one knows what it's about anyways. It's fine. Keep going.
But, Sam Lake's talking about this. But one of the things I didn't realize is that and I knew that there was like some Alan Wake stuff in Control.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just references. But apparently the whole fucking expansion for Control is about Alan Wake. And I was just like, oh, man.
Kind of, but not really to me.
I didn't play any of this.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, it's about Dr. Hartman and fucking, like, there's, like, the whole thing references Alan Wake. I mean, it's not like it's, yeah, okay, maybe Jesse is doing something else or trying to solve whatever. But,
Right.
like, there's all of this tie-in to how that organization that she's a part of investigating the stuff that happens in Bright Falls. And then he was talking about, and I apologize, like, if you guys, like, I don't know if any of this is spoilers or not, so please forgive me if it is, but like, there's this thing at the end where that
Get straight into the end of the game.
I don't remember. I don't remember the group that federal organization from Control.
They're just called the Bureau of Control.
Right. So like apparently they get some message or something like that towards the end of this DLC where it's talking about the events, like some events that happen in Night Springs, but the date on the message is like years in the future. And so I guess Alan Wake 2 is that future event, and like the people that are investigating it, like it's all fucking tied together. And so like
You don't have to play Control.
I know that you don't have to, but it's one of those things where like I didn't realize how it was all tied together. Like he really wrote all of this stuff as one universe, and it's interesting to me.
It's genius.
Like I would love to see at some point like a really fucking deep dive on the story and how it's all connected.
Dude, I absolutely hated Control.
I know you did, but I wonder if I would like it. Because a lot of the things that you complained about, I don't know if it would bug me so much.
Yeah.
But, and I've heard really good things about it from other people. So, but it was nice to know that, like, what was cool, what I really liked about the DLC for Alan Wake was that they were these, I don't want to say throwaway episodes, but they were relevant to the story, but the way that the story is written, they don't matter. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, I know you know what I'm talking about, but the listeners, if you haven't played the game, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. It's really,
it's just fluff.
Dude, the Alan Wake universe is so fucking interesting to me. Like, I think that it's one of the most interesting fucking universes that anyone has ever made in video games. I'm being completely honest about that. Like, you could talk about, like, yeah, in terms of just like a straight up pulpy action experience, writing wise, character wise, everything. Uncharted, everyone loves it. You want to talk about just like grit, heart, fucking story, you got Red Dead or The Last of Us. Like, those games fucking kill it. But when you want to talk about just straight up interesting and like universes
creative,
that make you really just wonder what the fuck is going on, and like, but not in like a, like when I finished Alan Wake the last time I played it, I wasn't like, what the fuck is going on in like a, God, they suck at telling stories kind of way. But like, this game is so wrapped up in itself and the story is so ambiguous in like an intelligent way that it's almost kind of cool that I don't know what the fuck's going on. And that's really, really, a really fine line to walk narratively.
Yeah, they didn't hit it with Control.
Yeah, I think that the problem with Control, and this is coming from someone who hasn't played it, just as like from anecdotal things that I've read, is like that they put too much of the story in like notes and shit that you have to read. And it's like, and there's like hours and hours and hours of this shit that you just have to read on your fucking television.
And it's open world enough that they don't really, pun intended, they don't really control the order that you receive the notes.
Right.
So that just, it's like, here's a story. Like if someone handed you a book without page numbers and they took all the pages out and they just threw them at you and said, here's the story, figure it out. That's what Control feels like.
It's almost like they took what they did in Alan Wake, which was fucking cool with the story pages, and they just took it too far.
Yeah, they definitely took it way too far in Control.
Like in Alan Wake, you find these manuscript pages, and there are instances where it will actually spoil what's going to happen in the game. But like, it's vague enough that you don't really know what's going to happen, but you kind of like, when it happens, you're like, holy fuck, that was word for word something that I read. The buzz
of the chainsaw growled in the middle of the night as Alan
it's like
whatever was chased
it's cool
through.
It's cool. So
yeah, it's cool.
So I'm hoping that they like dial it back a little bit from Control to Alan Wake 2.
I don't know if they have. I mean, I'm more confused in Alan Wake 2 than I was in Alan Wake 1. But
Well, it doesn't help that it probably doesn't help that there's like two characters now and you can play as both of them and like you're all over the
It's
fucking
not
place.
bad. It's not bad. It's cool actually, and yeah, I don't know though yet what's going on, but I will say that Sam Lake is super ambitious, and Alan Wake is Sam Lake. Alan, did I say Sam Wake? I said Sam Lake. Sam Lake is super ambitious, and I like the idea that they are releasing DLC for Alan Wake 2. I just hope they don't get so brainy that like you can't understand what happens. Literally, and I've said it 1,000 times. You watch my takeaway video on our YouTube channel about Control 2 or Control. I literally ended that game like you said, Jake, and I was just like, I literally have no clue what happened. I hit the waypoints, I fought the bosses, I did the things. That's all I understand. So the story was just, I mean, if that makes me an idiot, so be it. But I just think their delivery could have been better in Control to explain the story better. And I hope that they've refined it for Alan Wake 2. I'm not far enough to be able to report on that yet. Next news point. The upcoming Marvel Wolverine game will be set in the same universe as Spider-Man 2. There you go. That was confirmed. The reason, this is kind of a spoiler, but it's not. They were asked why Wolverine didn't make an appearance in Spider-Man 2. And they say that they wanted to leave Wolverine's story up to the Wolverine team. And they don't want to pre-write some stuff that has to make it make sense in the new game. So yeah, they intentionally left Wolverine out of it for now, which is fine.
I can definitely see maybe Spider-Man showing up in the Wolverine game, but I'm interested because the Spider-Man game is so... Yeah, there's some heart-wrenching stuff and like there's some shit that goes down, but it's generally a very wholesome experience.
Yeah.
And the Wolverine game is supposed to be like rated M mature.
That's the
as
vibe
fucking
we're getting,
Wolverine as a character is, like just gutting people. And so I'm wondering how those two characters will interact with each other if they ever do. Like, can you imagine they're eventually the Insomniac fucking video game Marvel universe where it's like, okay, they did Spider-Man, they do Wolverine. Now let's say they do a fucking I don't know, Captain America game and a freaking whatever, and let's say they do an Avengers or some like not necessarily an Avengers, but like some more of like a
Guardians
super group kind of game where they bring some of these characters together from the different Insomniac games. It's a bit of a challenge. But if you think about like the movies, I guess they already did this, because think about like the X-Men movies. They weren't really that they're relatively kid friendly. You know what I mean? They're maybe PG-13 or something like that. But then you think about a movie like Logan, which was fucking rated R. Like a hard R. And he was just murdering people. And coincidentally, Logan was probably might be like my favorite Marvel movie. Like it's really good. I mean, obviously I love the original Iron Man and all that, but like the Logan movie where he's like fucking old as shit is just so good.
Old man Logan.
So I wonder how they're gonna like handle the interactions between these two characters if it ever does happen.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Especially with Miles as like a fucking teenager. Unless he like grows up and it's like in the future or something. Or maybe like, dude, Wolverine's so weird too because he's so fucking old that like it could take place in the 40s. Because there's like a whole thing
he's
where
not
he's
like
fighting
that
World War
old.
II. Dude, he's pretty old. I mean, because of his healing ability, he can live a long time. So that's why, like in Logan, it's like in the future, and like in like the first freaking glimpse you see of Wolverine is like in like the, post World War II or something like that. Like
they need to do a Punisher.
they could do a Punisher game. It'd be cool to see, like, would it, like, I'd almost, to be honest with you, imagine like a Naughty Dog Punisher game.
That'd be a dream come true.
Where it just
pulls the heartstrings.
No punches at all.
Pulls the heartstrings, is violent as shit, and you're taking out bad guys. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, dude.
Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent on a short news point, but yeah, I'm interested in Wolverine. I can't wait to see more of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, former Sony head Shawn Layden, Jake, in a recent podcast interview, makes note that the importance of video game preservation is underrated. He's trying to say that, let's not be short-sighted here. We need to find a way to preserve games. Wasn't he doing something with what's that Chinese company? Didn't he get hired by
Tencent?
Yeah.
He was like a consultant. He's like he may still even be a consultant for them. I don't know.
But what's your take on the importance of video game preservation? I mean, we're doing halfway through episode 300. If you had to rate the importance of preserving the history of video games, not how important it is, but how well of a job we've done as a community. Not PS is awesome, but gamers in general. Where would you rate it on a 1 to 10? I would say we're about a 6.
I would say that collectively, the preservation of video games has been fine. Mm-hmm. I don't know what angle Shawn Layden is coming from, but like, if you want to talk about like a centralized system of preservation, like the Library of Congress or something like that, then maybe, we should be doing more. But as far as like the problem with this medium and the problem with media in the digital age in general is that all of this stuff is going to be inherently, how do you want to say, fragile. Like, dude, tomorrow, a fucking EMP could go off and destroy like literally half of all digital media.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, I think it's important that we preserve that stuff, but how many people are going to go out and freaking back up all of their data on tape or freaking, hard drives that are powered down or whatever to prevent from these catastrophes? And then if you even think about something like a hard drive or an SSD or something like that, you can't like put something on an SSD and then just stick it in a drawer for 100 years and expect it to still work.
Right.
Like, that's not how it happens. Like, that shit will eventually stop working. It's not like a record where it's literally carved into a piece of fucking vinyl. And that if that record lasted 10,000 years, as long as it didn't erode, it would still play. Because there's no mechanics, there's no technology to it. It's literally like grooves in a medium.
Another thing too that I think about, and kind of to piggyback on what you're saying, is like, we have had different ways to preserve music, right? The end of the day, if all of the recorded pieces of music get disintegrated, they get gone, they get made to disappear. Humans in real time can recreate that so that it can still be enjoyed. Video games, on the other hand, once their medium is gone, they're lost. You can't assemble 5 guys, put them in front of a microphone, and have a video game come out for everyone to enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's so tricky about it. Is like you can't recreate it as it is. In music, you can get close enough so that it's not really ever in threat. So like, first they had those little vinyl cylinders, those wax cylinders for music. They record them there. And then they, eventually they moved the records, 8-tracks, tapes, CDs, digital, and ultimately, music has survived all those mediums. And even if we weren't cataloging and digitizing all this musical stuff, and everybody's fucking phone in their pocket could play it, it'd be like if your phone could play every single video game ever made, right? That's essentially what we've done. We've archived music in a way. Even if we hadn't archived music, it is, while it's complex, it is not as complex as conjuring a video game out of thin air. There is something magic about music, but there's also something extremely time-consuming and magical about video games. And when you lose the ability to recreate them and play them, they're lost. They're gone. So, but I mean, it requires hardware. So, like, I don't know how this works. They should maybe come up with a master encoding system. You know what I mean? But I don't know how that would work. You almost need like one format to encode.
They need a way.
All games.
They need a way to digitally back up this stuff in redundancy, where the medium that it is backed up on is simple enough that it can be decoded by anything that came after the fucking nuclear war or whatever the hell is going to happen in the future. But is robust enough that you can literally stick it in a concrete box and bury it in the ground, and it will survive 1,000 years. And there's just nothing in the digital age that can do that. Well, speaking of in terms of ignorance from my part, maybe there is, right? But it's like I was cleaning out this room that I record in, and I found in my closet, I have literally, I'm not even kidding, 8 hard drives in my closet that I found that are just in various states of not working. And it's like, what do I do with these? The reason why they're in this closet is because they don't work. All the data that's on here, if I gave it to some fucking forensic data scientist, he could probably get on that hard drive, cobble together the broken sectors, and get like, most of my data back out of it and all that kind of junk. But it's like but for the rest of us, it's just like, no, these hard drives are just fucking bad.
Yeah.
And now that data is gone. It's like digital pictures.
Yeah.
Like, we don't print pictures out anymore. So I am honestly convinced that there's going to be a time in the next generation where there could theoretically be a scenario where someone has 0 pictures of any of their family, 0 pictures of anything that's gone on with them or whatever, because they fucking dropped their phone in the toilet and they didn't back anything up. You know what I mean? That could even happen right now.
Yeah, it could.
So, like, because when was the last time that you ever had film developed?
Dude, it's been forever.
I couldn't tell you the last time I had film developed.
Is that a service they still offer at local?
I think you can. Yeah, sure. It certainly is. I to be honest with you, the other day I was cleaning something and I found a old disposable camera that was spent, but I haven't had it developed.
Oh, that's fun.
I'm thinking about having it developed, but it's obviously from when I was like in high school or college.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, does this have like some criminal shit on it or something?
Is that
like,
why
I
it's
should
not
be
developed?
worried about? You're like, is this even mine? Like, I don't even know if it's mine.
Just turn it in and be like, hey, I found this. I don't even know what's on it, but I'd like to turn it in and develop it. If there's anything criminal on it, it's not mine.
It's just freaking hookers and meth.
God. Dick pics.
Yeah, well, I think those people at the film place have seen it all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude, I'm sure they
I don't know. I guess I haven't really said anything about game preservation. I guess I'll say this.
It's important.
It's important, and we need to try to do it, but we need to come up with a way that we can do it in a fashion that's going to protect all of these digital games.
Yeah.
Because everything is digital now. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't want physical shit. But even if you had physical shit, that doesn't mean that your CD or your DVD or your Blu-ray is going to fucking work in 50 years. All you got to do is sit it by a window, and it's going to freaking destroy all the data on it.
Dude, just find a DVD player right now that's not Blu-ray.
Yeah, so like I don't know, man. This is wild. I don't know what we're even going to be able to do about it, but somebody smarter than me is going to have to figure it out.
Yeah. All right, moving onward. We're not going to have to worry about preserving this game anytime soon because it's been delayed 6 times. It's not even out yet. It's called Skull and Bones, and it is now targeting a release of first quarter 2024. There's nothing to be said about this. I could care less about this game. Next news point. You good, Jake?
Yeah, you can move on. Yeah. I don't care about it either.
Eric Lempel indicated in an interview that the reason for the increase in PS Plus prices was to keep up with market conditions. In a different interview, Eric is asked about PSVR 2, which he indicates it's never going to be the only way people play games, but I'm happy that we're in it. There are great experiences to be had, and consumers really like it, but it's, I don't know how this word, nascent business. I've never used that word before in my life. It's a nascent business for us. And the PSVR 2 isn't the core proposition for Sony. Who is this Eric Lempel guy? Because there's a lot of articles about this jabroni. And we know that Jim Ryan is leaving. Eric Lempel seems to be the mouthpiece for Sony right now. He is
vice president and head of global marketing, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he looks the part.
You know,
he looks like a tool.
Just like most businessmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I nobody has a problem. Well, I guess some people I'm sure have a problem with PlayStation Plus increasing their price. I personally don't have a problem with them increasing the price. The problem I have is that they were just when they ripped the Band-Aid off, they took the fucking hair and the skin and everything with it. Like it was just like straight up like a 30 to 40% fucking increase in price.
Yeah.
They could have been like, hey, just so you know, I would have been more okay with it if they were like, hey, we have to get to this point because of market conditions. And over the next 2 years, we're going to have price increases here, 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 and here. And I think more people would have been okay with that. But I think their strategy, like their thought process was just like, fuck it, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Most people aren't even going to see this blog post. And then by the time they know what's happened, we've already charged their update for the next year at $140.
Yeah, they're already in the tractor beam going off to Mars. Yeah.
So like it's a little bit of a sneaky business play, I guess. Maybe just not the most consumer friendly, but I don't know. It is what it is. I mean,
yeah.
Everything is increasing in price. Why shouldn't fucking PlayStation Plus increase in price?
And then Sony's involvement with PSVR 2, they're saying it's not their main thing. They're happy to be a part of the whole thing, but they,
So nascent, just so if you didn't know, means like it's a burgeoning thing. Like it's still new. Like it's not.
Sure.
It's not like
that would make sense.
This storied thing like regular gaming is.
I wouldn't have even guessed how to say that word. I'm an idiot. What was another word you taught me about? It's about people who are castrated.
Eunuch?
Castized? What's the word? Castrated.
Castrated?
Yeah. I kept trying to say capsized, but it's castrated. Yeah, I didn't know what a eunuch fucking was. I've learned 2 words on this show. Humility will make us, I don't know. Well, I don't know what it does. Humility does something. It makes you fucking embarrassed. But it is what it is. Gladly wear it. I don't know what... Yeah, nascent. That's so weird. I'm going to click on define nascent.
So,
nascent.
I will say...
Just coming into existence, beginning to display signs of future potential. There you go. You were right, Jake. Spot on, as I predicted. Go ahead. What were we going to say?
So, PSVR 2, I'm glad they're doing it. I think it's really fucking cool. I know that maybe this just isn't possible. I just wish it was easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's still one of these things where it's like, if I'm gonna sit down and play a game, I just want to fucking sit down and play a game. Like I don't want to get out the special chair in the middle of the living room and move my fucking coffee table and strap this thing to my head and feel like I had a workout for freaking an hour and then my eyes hurt and all this stuff. So it's getting there. The technology is definitely getting there. I think what I'm mostly interested in is how this technology is going to advance, especially with augmented reality, and how it's going to affect just our everyday life, not necessarily just in gaming.
I just think we need retinal implants.
Just be in the game, just fucking jack in like the Matrix.
Yeah, like in Cyberpunk, just like beep, and then our eyes turn like bright blue, and then we're just like in it.
Hell yeah, man.
That'd be fucking dope.
Dude, if that was possible, it would just be nothing but porn. Forever.
Not where I thought you were going.
Like, it would literally be power fantasies and fucking porn.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting on there and playing Tetris Effect. Now, I mean, maybe some people would, but if you're literally jacking yourself in full on.
Easy. I don't know what you're saying there. Kid. Pun intended.
Next news point.
Pun intended. All right. In a different interview, I'll read you that. Speaking of VR2, Jake, Arizona Sunshine 2 is coming this December. This
Did you play the
is
first one? Because I've heard it's good.
No, but I heard Arizona Sunshine 2 actually looks really good. So this game looks awesome.
It's one of those shootery kind of zombie games. Might be worth checking out.
It's too bad they couldn't
I'm not
have
going
got
to sit here and say I'm going to do it because you literally have to move a mountain to get me to hook up my VR. My brother actually has it right now, so I can't really do much of anything.
It's too bad they didn't release this in October for Halloween.
It would have been cool. Yeah.
And then lastly, 2 more news points. Media Molecule is downsizing, as is Sony's VASG, which is Visual Arts Service Group, who work directly with first-party developers to help them tidy up games, shine up games. Both these companies are letting some people leave. Never a good sign, but we knew Media Molecule was destined to do something here, especially with Dreams coming to an end.
Dude, they haven't done anything in fucking 10 years, so... I mean, yeah, of course, they worked on Dreams, and I don't mean to minimize that, but they very clearly, whether it's their fault or Sony's fault or whoever's fault, it doesn't really matter, but very clearly the last 10 years of Media Molecule's existence has, for the most part, been squandered, at least from the outside perspective. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I don't know about the Visual Art Services Group. From my understanding is that they're mainly a support system for the other teams. So this could just be more of a house cleaning kind of measure. But it always sucks that people lose their jobs or whatever. And I hope that everybody gets back on their feet. There's a pretty decent Media Molecule, I think, is in the UK. And I think there's a pretty decent game dev scene there. So hopefully most of those people can kind of
Land somewhere else.
move laterally, yeah, to somewhere else.
Yeah, in the Visual Arts Service Group, dude, they help specifically with first-party developers. That's a Sony company, so interesting to see them downsize as well. But it's all just restructuring for what's in store, really. So I don't know much about it, but just for the listeners, that happened. And then last news point: PlayStation head of internal productions Connie Booth has left Sony. I must be an absolute idiot because I have never heard of this person.
I think she's like an OG.
She's a big deal.
But because she's in a production role, she's not really a face of Sony.
Right.
So there's tons of executives that work within the PlayStation family that nobody knows anything about. And like super important people like Scott Rhodey and stuff that where like people, you maybe recognize the name, but you don't know who that is. And Connie Booth is one of those people. Has been at Sony for like fucking 20 or 30 years or something. And from what I've heard and read, it seems almost like she was fired or let go, which is, I think David Jaffe might have reported on this. And it's like, that's kind of weird. Like, because
I think that might be speculation, though. I don't know that that's been confirmed.
I don't know that it has either. I mean, Sony's not going to come out and say anything. But with Jim Ryan just leaving and now Connie Booth leaving, who's another big figurehead at Sony. Figurehead might not be the right word, but like, is there something going on behind the scenes? And I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess we'll just have to see how it shakes out in the games, to be honest with you. Because we're never going to know what the goings-on are inside of the business side of Sony unless we get some like really juicy, leaky shit. But
so this is interesting. I'm looking at a GameSpot article about Connie Booth, and it was initially a mystery. This was on October 27th, the GameSpot article, and it says Booth hasn't yet commented on her exit from PlayStation, and David Jaffe, the Twisted Metal guy, he's on a lot of podcasts and he talks a lot and he's got a YouTube channel. He said that he was citing sources within PlayStation, contacts that he had reported to him that she was fired. And they quote Jaffe and they say she was fired. She was not let go. She didn't retire. She didn't quit. She was fired. And she apparently had no notice of advance warning. It just kind of happened, is what Jaffe was saying. So it is interesting. I don't know. I don't know much about it, but she has a lineage with Sony, so it's kind of sad they just let people go like that. I don't know. I don't know enough about the industry or the business. If I'm being completely honest, I can't even feign to pretend that I understand. I'm not connected. You know, we've never met any of these fucking people, Jake. We could just parrot what other people say in different podcasts and different channels. But in what the internet's reporting, I don't know anything about it. But if the proof is there and she was just kind of let go without warning, that kind of sucks. You know, maybe Sony had their reasons. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Who am I to fucking know? You know, but she was important and she's no longer there. Jake, anything else on that?
Nope. It sucks for her. I hope that she either fades into blissful retirement or finds herself working someplace more enjoyable.
Yeah. 30 years on a job, dude. It's time to fucking break out the flip-flops, head to the beach.
All I will say is that I hope her fucking severance package was fucking huge. If she was there for 30 years.
Oh my God, yeah, it's a long time, dude. I can't even fathom. I'm thinking about my job right now. I got like 18 more years, possibly. Dude, I'm gonna be dead by then.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I like how you agree with that. Yep. I'm gonna be dead by then. Yep, it's a long time. With your fucking glasses, your fake ass glasses. All right, I love them. New games coming out. We talk about this every episode. New games coming out this week. October 31st, Jusant on PS5. Headbangers Rhythm Royale, PS5, PS4. Plate Up on PS5. The Foglands on VR and regular. That's PS5. And The Forest Cathedral on PS5. November 1st, we're getting This Bed We Made. What a fucking weird ass title. If you took this literal, it would be like the stupidest game title in the world, but we know that's not what they mean, probably. November 2nd, Achilles Legends Untold on PS5, My Time at Sandrock on PS5, PS4, Phantom Blade Executioners on PS5, PS4, RoboCop Rogue City PS5, which is getting mixed responses right now. Star Ocean, The Second Story R, PS5, PS4, The Smurfs 2, The Prisoner of the Greenstone on PS5, PS4, The Talos Principle 2 on PS5, PS4, Thirsty Suitors, PS5, PS4, Vampire the Masquerade Justice on PS5, and then November 3rd, DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing, PS5, PS4, EA Sports WRC, PS5, Ebenezer and the Invisible World, PS5, PS4, Jumanji Wild Adventures on PS5, Rollercoaster Tycoon Adventures Deluxe, PS5, PS4, The Silent Swan on PS5, and lastly, PlayStation exclusive, I believe, Quantum Error on PS5, which I've read somewhere that the team behind Quantum Error have already broke even on their game, and it's not even out yet. So good on them. That's all I got, dude. This has been episode 300 of PS. This is awesome. It has been a rousing success, except for the intro, which I'm going to have to edit, which is why there was no time codes on this video. If anybody wants to be a doll out there when this episode comes out and send us the time codes, I'll gladly upload them to the YouTube video. Just let us know what section started on, and I will put them up there. I'm not going to take the time to do it this episode because this was a celebration of our podcast, and I didn't want to be burdened with figuring this shit out tonight on a Monday. Episode airs every Wednesday for patrons. It will be there on Monday. Usually, it's not a promise, but it is something we typically try to make happen. This week is an exception. Jake, is there anything you would like to say before we close out this Paramount episode of 300?
Do you remember Headbangers Ball?
Yeah, dude, with Matt Pinfield.
It's fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
I miss those days.
Where people actually give a shit about bands. Yeah, me too.
Dude, and they used to MTV, that was MTV, right? They used to release Headbangers Ball, those compilation albums, and they were fucking awesome. I found some cool ass bands, like metal bands, on those Headbangers Ball albums that were just sick. And yeah, I just that Headbangers Rhythm Royale kind of made me think of that. Kind of threw me back into high school.
Yes, sir.
And, love it. Otherwise, no, I got nothing to say. We've been on this podcast for like 300 minutes.
God.
So, for 300 episode. We haven't been on it that long. That's like 5 hours.
I am gonna say what I'm gonna do for this episode real quick for the listeners, because I'm pushing this new One Up My Land record. I am going for the YouTube channel. I'm gonna just splice in the video for our single Walls at the end of this so you can watch it. And for the listeners, it will just be the audio track. We used to feature music at the end of all of our podcasts, but it became kind of problematic. But it is what it is, man. It's my band. So we're going to put on a song off of the new One of My Land record. The song's going to be called Walls. I hope you enjoy it. And if you're on YouTube, check out the video. It's really fun. Jake, thank you for doing this with me, man. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the podcast. And I appreciate the listeners. And I'm just a grateful son of a bitch. So thank you for doing it, everybody, making this thing work. Feel free to write us. We'll talk to you next episode. And like Infamous, it takes two. And I was a teenage exoconalist. P.S.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.
I used to wake up every day. I could stop thinking it over and over and over. So I made it that every day. Wish I was dreaming, but I wasn't dreaming. I must have